You're listening to 17 Carat K-Pop, the show that's a little bit of everything with a K-pop twist. Visit 17caratkpop.weebly.com for more information about the show. That's 17caratkpop.weebly.com. Enjoy the show! This clip show episode is dedicated to music video storylines overall, as well as more music recommendations from a wide variety of artists, the deeper meaning and context and stories behind some of their music videos, as well as the lyrics and just all of the song content that I think deserves a lot of love and attention. So consider this your ultimate go-to music recommendation episode. Enjoy. BAP videos have these themes of rebellion and basically this uprising and the younger generation really taking a stand for something, and definitely Hands Up is a great video for that. And personally, my favorite that hit me the hardest is Wake Me Up. Wake Me Up is really about how there's a lot of injustice in the world, and we can be the victims of it, but we also can turn it into our hero stories, and we can basically accept our pain and not dismiss it, but at the same time use it to grow and form a better future for ourselves and future generations. So it's really, really a deep video. It's a bit, not graphic at times, but there are moments where it might be uncomfortable and triggering depending on your past memories, but it really can hit home. And it talks about all these insecurities the youth deal with and their struggles and mentally it's really rough growing up, and it addresses that in a very raw way. And it's such a masterpiece, that video. It could be a whole full-length movie, and I wish it was. But anyway, so Wake Me Up is definitely the one to check out, but I also really like Hands Up. I will also say One Shot is kind of an intense video, but it is an action movie type video, so if you're into that kind of thing, One Shot has really a whole plot line where they gotta try to save their kidnapped friend. It's a whole thing. Just trust me on that one. Pressure, the story of Narcissus is this guy basically fell in love with his reflection. It's this Greek myth where he basically fell in love with his reflection, but he didn't realize it was his reflection. He thought he was really in love with someone else, and then realized it was himself. And I don't know, I just find it hilarious to think about. Imagine if you think you're dating someone for a year and you realize you were just looking in the mirror the whole time. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. But anyway, so that's basically on a deeper level, though. I get that it's just symbolic and whatnot, but when I think about Greek myths, literally, it cracks me up. So anyway, so yeah, obviously the story of Narcissus is about warning you to not be too egotistical and self-centered. And so Holland's video for Narcy is kind of about that. It basically tells the story of a boy whose relationship doesn't work out because he basically was too self-centered. In the video, that seems to be what the message is. I would definitely look out for more from Holland in the future. I like his videos, and that was an interesting way to take it. Stage name is Moon, and her voice is really something. It reminds me a little of Lee High, just in the sense that it is a voice that really carries the song. So a song can sound really boring, but not when she sings it. She can sing the phone book if she wants to. So her voice is just very cool and unique and satisfying, just like Lee High's. So I would check out Moon. Her song Now is probably my favorite, or I think it's called Why Do You Say, or What Do You Say? I think it's Why Do You Say, though. Her collab with Ash Island, who I already talked about just a day or two ago. So interesting to me how he's really he's known for the goofy songs, but he has some really more deep sentimental songs like Human. Human is probably personally one of his best songs. Bermuda Triangle is the best, but Human is really good too. Anyway, but it's interesting to me how artists do have really deep songs, but the songs that seem to perform the best are the ones that sometimes are the ones that are just kind of just goofy. Any song is just winning this year, It's interesting because the songs that do well on, with dance trends on TikTok and other apps and just are catchy, and you hear, lyric references to online a lot, online culture is it reacts more to the goofy songs than the sentimental stuff, it seems. So I wonder, how much Zico will realize that and play into that in the future. I hope he doesn't completely abandon the more sentimental songs he has, but I could totally see, just from an artist's strategic perspective, why he would lean more into more songs like Any Song in the future. For context, the following clip is talking about the song 8 by IU featuring Suga. So that one really has a lot of metaphors for longing in it. She refers to this eternal island, and then there's also a reference to this orange sun, and so she combines them into Orange Island, which is basically her metaphor for this paradise that you go to live in, just kind of a mental escape that she's craving, and this longing for more innocent years earlier in life. It feels very relevant to release that song right now in the time we're living in. And so it really does give me some Magic Shot by BTS vibes, not in sound but just in theme, as well as Make It Right. That in terms of theme with because there's in the 8 music video, it's a relatable theme, but it's also sci-fi-esque at times, and so she's basically time traveling, and she alternates between the 2D and 3D worlds. So parts of the video she's in her human form, and then parts she's animated, and so that reminds me of the BTS Make It Right video. Lusty has a cool single out now. The Do Sisters I really like. Zyto released this EP recently, and in general, Zyto's music I haven't gotten into much until lately when his new single Bedding came out, and that whole EP it's from is really good. That's XYDO. Island has this really unique sound, and it's the right amount of auto-tune where it's cool. It's like G-Dragon meets the 1975. That's how to put it. And so he knows a way to sing in this electronic auto-tune voice that's in a way that's cool. And I find an art form to hear how artists make songs that way. And so it's not annoying or squeaky or anything. But it also makes for some good music with some real instruments, and it's a great blend of those worlds. So I highly recommend Ash Island's music. Another female who's really, really great at storytelling that makes you think and is relatable is Bull4. This was before she was a one-woman show, but she continues to release good content. Just the other day, she dropped Leo, which is the early pre-album release single from her upcoming release. So, side note, you should check it out. It'll be out May 13th. It's called Youth Diary Part 2. Youth Diary Part 1 was her best work. She continues to just evolve as an artist, so keep that in mind. So Leo was the video released the other day with a feature from Baekhyun, which just made everything even better. It's a really pretty aesthetic video, as always. It actually was written kind of inspired by her cat, and it really was. And it's just a cute concept about how, her cat, she said inspires her because her cat is so easily curious and mesmerized by things it sees in the world. So, it's very easily entertained. And, the littlest thing will get its attention and cause it to look captivated, And so it's just about having this inner childlike innocence and curiosity about the world where everything is still interesting and you're not jaded or cynical towards it yet. And so that concept of growing up is something that Bull4 addresses throughout her music, and so it makes for good videos as well. So Workaholic is one of my personal favorites, where and 25 was like the other single from that album era. So 25 and Workaholic both tell, not only are they aesthetic videos as always from her, but they really talk about debating how to grow up and stay happy and maintain that childlike innocence, and just really wondering where your life is headed, what do you want to do with your life, and the weird contrast you get as you grow up between wanting to grow up and be viewed as an adult versus not wanting to grow up and facing the challenges and responsibilities that come with it. So it just is, they're very universally relatable themes that she addresses in a way that also feels singularly personal. And so I really admire her songwriting ability and the stories her videos create. And like I said, they really are just beautiful visual videos. So check out Bull4's releases for that kind of content. My music recommendation of the episode has got to be this album from Woods called Equal. It's Woods' first mini album, so not just a single or anything, but he's getting a full mini album, and it's coming out very soon. So please look out for Woods' mini album when it comes out, because he released the highlight medley, and every song is a bop. So I'm very excited for that full album to come out. His sound, I guess I would say, it's like Sick in a muted way. So it's kind of like muted Sick, like lo-fi sike. So if you like that sound, that is for you. Also, I've been checking out this new to me artist this week called Leenzy, Leenzy, and I really like her voice. It reminds me of Lehigh a little bit, but it's also just unique in its own way. But if you're a fan of Lehigh's sound, I think you'll like Leenzy, especially Peter Pan. That's probably her best song. So definitely an artist who I think deserves more love and attention. Say Reminisce from Everglow. And this is because Everglow really is a super rookie group. They are just so good, and their confidence and stage presence really is beyond their years. I definitely would not expect that of a rookie group that soon in their careers, but they already have such a solidified sound that it's very cool to see that come to life already. Treasure is here, and their debut Boy I really like. That is very fun and high energy. And also, though, it is cool sometimes to watch an artist take a sonic journey and then really have a solidified sound after a long time, which is why G-Idol is also on my list with I Trust with this EP, because it does show that they found a specific route for their music, because like Senorita had a totally different vibe than Han, which had a totally different vibe than Uh-Oh and La Ta Ta. So like all their singles really dabbled in different areas of pop, and Lion really seemed to be a pivotal point. Lion is their best song ever though, still, to be honest, but Lion really seemed to be a point where they realized what sound works for them, and they went in that direction full force for this EP. So I just love that they found their unique niche in the pop music world, and so it's just an EP that really represents that. Talk a little about Wonho's Losing You comeback. So Wonho, previously from Monsta X, has gone solo, and his first solo release is here before the full album comes out. His pre-release single is Losing You, which has a music video with it and everything. And I know I just finished saying that I want something light and happy these days and not something emotional, but I love this song, so I guess I take that back somewhat. It is really, I don't know. I was very, as you know, if you're a long-time listener, very torn up when he left Monsta X. Really wanted him to come back and help, try to campaign for him to come back, and did not want to see him go on his own. But I guess part of me wants to say I'm surprised that I like his solo music so much, but part of me is of course not surprised that I do. So I don't know how to feel about it yet. It's just got me emotional, I guess that's the point. It's a really great song, and I guess I was just surprised how well he's suited to perform a ballad of sorts, because we think of Monsta X as of course so action-packed and high energy. That's their whole vibe of their music, is very in your face in the best way. But for him to be able to switch gears completely for this ballad and make it work, it's just I'm just impressed. I'm impressed with his range that he's showing, and showing this new side of himself. Brown Eyed Girls. They broke boundaries, like how they became the first K-pop group to go 10 years without any member changes. So they had a big celebration for that in Koreatown in LA, and so broken the mold and defied expectations for girl groups by their longevity. And The Sixth Sense especially, that was marketed as a track being about the limits of your five senses, is how they branded it, and how try to listen to this song not with just your five senses. Basically, the message was that, like, it was a very open your eyes message about, mind control in a way, and freedom of thought and expression, and the ways they symbolize that in the video are very impressive to me. Khan, Khan. This was a 2-member group who were very short-lived. They had one main hit single, I'm Your Girl, and it was really cute. It was a really sweet story about a special bond between girls, and it was, they had a lot of potential, I think, and I just wish more people had given them love when they were a group. Pink Fantasy. This group is kind of like BAP meets Dreamcatcher. They have the bunny logo, and they have the goth princess look going on for them, but it's in more of a rock pop sound, but so it's kind of a mix of other groups, but also they've got their unique flair, And they've just got a super memorable image they've created, mascot-wise, wardrobe-wise, sound-wise. They always catch you by surprise with what they choose to do, and especially the name Pink Fantasy makes you think you're about to listen to super bubblegum pop. But no, they are edgy and sassy, and they just have a really cool concept going for them. Rocket Punch, I really like that they do not have assigned roles in the group, like the leader, the dancer, the singer, the visual. They're all just everything, and I just wish more groups would do that. I think it would lower the unnecessarily high expectations on some female groups. I also think that they are iconic because they have so much going on in their songs. It can be like a sonic bombardment, and it might be too much for people, but I think that's really cool that they have this unique thing where their whole thing is not what you expect, where they try to hook you with a catchy earworm. They do the opposite kind of, where they try to hook you with so many earworms, you just don't know what to do. And so a whole apple's worth of earworms, so you basically have to throw out the apple and figure out what you like about it, but then you realize you liked it. 3i, spelled 3YE. They have some really cool giant formations and choreography and other visual aspects of their work that I like. I also like that they've coined all these unique phrases like DMTs, they're do my thing, OOMM is out of my mind. Like the way they've built comebacks around these things, it's like making fetch happen, and I really love it. And so I hope they do more of that. They haven't lately with Yes Sir, that's not an abbreviated thing. They didn't call that YSR or whatever, but I just think they've really started out from the get-go being a super unique group. Mamamoo. They have definitely showed their confident side with their full group releases, like Yes I Am, of course, with that I like what I like attitude, and then Mr. Ambiguous with the whole, the lines like you're a flirty wolf in a sheep's mask. I love that. Just very sassy, like stop being a two-faced with me, don't play games with me, that very upfront attitude I love. But they've also, as soloists, been able to explore more deep personal emotions, like with Hwasa, writing that letter to her former self through the song Maria, about you're perfect the way you are, don't change, and things like that. So they've been able to be more vulnerable on their solo works and on some ballads for the band, but they also have that sassy side that I love. They have always broken barriers in terms of just sounds. Like they've always defied what you expect. Again, it's another group that is just after school like in the way that they never are what you expect. They're so different always. Yeah, just so different and not what you'd expect in any way. Outfit wise, music video wise, sound wise. I also love when they deliver very intense lyrics but with a cutesy smile, like talking about electric shocks and stuff. I love that irony. Armadillo really deserved a lot more love. They only had a few singles before they disbanded, but I wish they had really gained more traction. They were really cool, a 4-member, I believe, girl group, 4 or 5 members, and I really just like them. I also love that they played their own instruments. That was a super unique thing for girl groups, especially in the K-pop space. And so I wish at least more groups maybe will hopefully fill their void now and play their own instruments and have that guitar-driven sound. I think that would be cool to see more of. 4 Minute has, they were so sassy, and they also broke a lot of fashion rules, like bucket hats with crop tops and like leggings or skinny jeans or whatever those were. I mean, who would have thought? Like, and then like the white jumpsuit with the bandanas and stuff. Like, they really broke style rules, and they also had cool video concepts with that totally I don't care attitude, the house party feel of songs. And then there's like the song Hate, where it starts out with like a wedding scene, a tragic wedding scene, and then the bride doesn't get married, of course, leaves the relationship with only feeling hate for him. It's really funny and iconic. Jeju is another underrated girl group that deserves more attention. They really have only had 2 comebacks. I guess they never technically disbanded. Their last comeback was in 2019. They had another one for their debut in 2017, but that's it. 2 big singles so far since 2017. So I hope they didn't disband, though. They have a really unique concept, especially with Moonlight. They just have really, they're dancing together, and the sound of their music, very trumpet heavy, very anthemic. It's something very movie ready, and I just want to see more from them, and I hope we do. CLC, they also do what FX does in the way that they say really intense, sassy lyrics, but with a cute smile and a wink that I love. They also have songs that are just great and fierce feminist anthems like No, where they just are like, whatever, I don't want to be that girl, I don't want to wear high heels, and it's fine if you do, but I don't. You know, it's just wear what you want, be who you want, and I love that message. Is nature, especially with their latest video. I honestly wasn't much of a fan of them before this, but the girls video, the video for girls is so good, and I really hope they stay in this really unique storyline direction for a while now. It's kind of like a mini horror movie. These girls are in these identical white dresses walking down the hall. There's another scene where they're all like ghosts spinning around the room. There's a room with scissors hanging by threads from the ceiling. There's rooms with this blood, and it's like a whole horror movie. There's there's some gore, but it's there are a lot of like ghost moments where characters seem to fade in and out like ghosts. There's one girl left blindfolded. Like, it's a whole storyline with a lot of symbolism that goes unexplained, because I think it will be unpacked more in future videos. This is just the start, I hope, of a more fleshed out storyline. So stay tuned, but it's very cinematic, and I'm excited to see where their story goes from here. Solar Spit It Out I put on there because it's very unique and memorable to me and catchy, and also was a great debut single. And it's just her performance, her charisma as she performs it. It's all her stage presence during the song really makes me like the song more and makes the song really come to life. And I really respect that. For Dean's videos as well. Dean's videos, two that you've got to see. One is Bonnie and Clyde, which is from 2016. It's the Bonnie and Clyde classic story, but it's reimagined for like the 80s era. And it's just very interesting and very Dean. Very classic Dean. And then the other one you've got to check out is Instagram, which looks pretty blah and basic, but you really need to stop and constantly pause the screen and look at it and analyze it. So it's one of those videos where on the surface it looks very blah, why am I watching this? But trust me, just hang in there and really pay attention, and then it gets interesting. Sunmi just released Borderline, and the video for it, Borderline, she actually premiered on tour last year, but we finally get a video for it, and it's really, really, really great. I'm very excited we finally get to see that. So after school, as I said in a previous episode, I'm just getting into, and you have everything from like the drill team-esque Let's Step Up, to the pastel concept with Lady Luck, to the whole chrome metallic look from Rambling Girls, the black blazer look from Shh. It's really, they really just have a range that is impressive, and they always defy expectations. You never know what to expect from them.
After school, and if you haven't checked out After School, I highly recommend, if you've enjoyed this conversation, because they were really like, again, that like 360 degrees of entertainment. They had concepts across the board. They were really amazing too, because they did things I never saw from pop groups. They had one concept where they did a drum line. They did one where they did tap dancing. They did pole dancing. They did a cane dance. They had ballads. They had pop songs. They had R&B. They went just across the board, and they were so unique, and just something that was so refreshing to me as a music fan.
Other up-and-comers you really have your eye on right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Gravity guys are so cool and nice. I actually got to meet a couple of them just like while they were trainees, like just because I just happened to be at Starship. I met Alan, who just like really nice, kind guy, period. But yeah, they're really cool, and I'm so happy for their success so far. I really like MCND, the 5-member boy band from Top Media. I think they have something really cool and special going on. TOO is a new boy band.
Oh, they're great.
Yes! Oh, I'm happy you said that.
Yeah, I love them. I'm excited for the comeback.
I got to be a judge on their show when they were kind of created on World Class. I was a judge for an episode, and I remember just being so enamored, just like with all the things I was seeing.
One of my latest favorites is Around, which is Taeyeon and Hitchhiker's collab, and Around is older, but it's just, the Taeyeon live stream really reminded me of how much of a bop it is, and it's just, I'm into that techno, fast-paced vibe lately, so I'm revisiting some of that stuff. I think what's really underrated is Taeyeon's discography already, and he doesn't even have a solo mixtape yet, so if you're wondering, like, what the big deal is, or what his vibe is, or, like, how you can get into him and invested in his catalog, my biggest recommendation, honestly, this is an unpopular opinion, I think, but I would say his best work so far has been City Lights. So City Lights is his collaboration. He did a featured rap on it for TVXQ, his label mates, and it's hard to explain what City Lights sounds like. It sounds like, it's like if a rap song was cut so that it's like half the speed or slower, but it's also got like it's still interesting even though it's kind of lo-fi. It's hard to explain, but it's a very unique vibe for TVXQ and Taeyeon, and the rap is just everything. I would say also Be Natural, his collab with Red Velvet. He has a solo song, Lawn Flight, and the video for that is really just adorable and aesthetic too. So even if you don't think he's adorable, the setting is. His OST for Hotel de Luna is great. He's got this song called Mood he features on with Martine. NCT's 127's Kick It remixes. All of those remixes really, they just rock. They are perfect for your quarantine dance parties. The most accurate way I think I can describe VIX and their music video stories is basically like if someone decided the Monster Mash or the Munsters or some other, think of any concept where you have different types of monsters coming together. If any song or show with that premise was a K-pop band, who would they be? And it would be VIX. The one that will really just in general make you think visually, this is so aesthetic, and just you can see what the big deal is, I would recommend the Fantasy video. I think that's the biggest crowd pleaser, so if you're not into the super over-the-top cinema style videos, but you like the drama a little, the tamer version of their Halloween-esque concepts is Fantasy, so it's the most crowd-pleasing of their videos, I think. There are a lot of little Easter eggs in the Dynamite video that remind you of past videos. Like, there's this scene where they're trapped in a box, this big clear box with a lot of clouds of smoke in it, and those same clouds of pink smoke show up in another video in the future. They're the glass walls and them being unable to touch their loved one on the other side, all dramatically and Big Bang-esque. They have those moments too with the glass wall in this video. So it's a happy, cheerful video with a more somber, hidden tone alluded to through the symbols. There's actually a fantasy video and a fantasy drama version. So the drama version is what I would watch for the story, but if you don't care about plot and you just like staring at a video with less action, then you can watch the regular version, but I prefer the drama version. In the drama version, there are these floating chairs all over the place, there are lamps all over the place, there's this boat with all these candles on it, and there's a lot. We're going to unpack the symbolism as we talk about mythology later, but I will say Fantasy was an era where they really started going all out with symbols. And there's this dinner table scene with all the potions on the table. All of that will be relevant later in our discussion. There's this scene where they're at this lawn table and there's potions laid out and stuff, but then they all suddenly leave and Leo's the only one left, so he's left alone at the table. Everything's thrown askew and everything, and he's all tied up in a chair. And so it's interesting because he's tied up kind of like he was in the very first video of this whole saga On and On, so it's kind of a throwback. I don't know if that was intentional, but that's what I thought of when I saw it. And the video ends with all the members holding black masks up to their face. So they're holding up these masks that it really reminded me of the Mask in the Singularity video from BTS. It's really that mask. So let's talk about Persephone's main story. So this story basically is used to describe how our seasons came to be. And this is honestly, like, I think about stories so literally. Like, if you heard one of my previous episodes where I talk about Narcissus and the symbolism behind him, for BTS and SF9, they both reference Narcissus in their work. I just couldn't help but laugh over it because I like taking these literally. And I know, yeah, it's like fables, and you have to think about the moral of the story, not the actual logistics of the story, but come on. Narcissus is a funny story if you think about it. I mean, the guy fell in love with himself, but he didn't realize that for years. So he's dating himself, basically. He's in a romantic relationship, and then it suddenly, he has the shock revelation that it's been his reflection he's been dating the whole time. That's hilarious. So we're going to have to talk about things that are also hilarious to me, just in terms of thinking about this actually happening. So I will probably be like that again as I tell these stories. So, the story of Persephone. So basically, Persephone, she was in this meadow flower picking one day, and Hades, who's in the underworld, I guess wanted her as his wife because he has this crush on her, and so basically, she's his, I guess because I would say she would be, because if Hades is the brother of Zeus, Persephone would be his niece, but I guess I don't think family trees work that way in the world of mythology. So anyway, so he wants Persephone as his wife and queen. So she's just la 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 picking flowers in a meadow, and Hades like somehow gets the ground to break beneath her, and she falls into the underworld, and then they're going to be forced to live together. And so Demeter, who is Persephone's mom, goes looking for her and realizes that she's gone. And so she is so distraught, she's mourning the loss of her daughter, and she's so distraught and caught up with her grief and distracted by it that she doesn't do her chores. So Demeter doesn't do what she's known for, which is agriculture and things like that. So the things that she would help do to sustain life are not happening because she's not doing anything. She's not growing crops or anything. So the world is in this famine, and it's just in a real bad state because she can't concentrate and she's mourning and not doing her tasks. And so Zeus is like, all right, that's enough. We need food. So he's like, Hermes, he sends this guy Hermes, he's like, go get Persephone back because we need Demeter to get back to work. And so Hermes goes to fetch Persephone, and he does, and he brings her back, so everyone's like, yay, she's back. And then Persephone is like, oh, guys, I should have said this earlier, but I kind of ate a pomegranate seed when I was down there. And then they're like, oh no, because apparently there's this rule that if you're in the underworld and you eat anything there, then you're bound for life to stay down there. And so they're like, oh no, let's follow this rule that is in no way arbitrary. This is a real sin. She ate the pomegranate seed, so they make her go back down there after she's pulled back up. And so she's down there again. And then they're like, but what do we do now? We just said we wanted Demeter to get back to work, but she's back to mourning. How do we mess this up? They really should have just changed the rules, but I digress. So Zeus is like, all right, you know what? Let's do a compromise here. So Persephone, you're gonna spend 1/3 of your time down there, and then the other 2/3 of the year you're gonna be up here back with your mom, so that at least she's not mourning all the time, just 1/3 of the time. And so they agree to that compromise. And so that's how the seasons were apparently created, according to this story. So winter is dark and cold, and the trees are bare, and it's, things aren't growing, because those are the months of Demeter mourning her daughter because she misses her, and she's spending her winters in the underworld with her husband, I guess. And then the other parts of the year she's here, crops are growing and whatnot. So in terms of how climate change would play into this story, I'm guessing Persephone just really fell in love with Hades because she's spending a lot of time down there these days. So anyway, that is basically the story of Persephone and how all of that came to be, really. All right, I'm going to share the stories and then get back to the connections to Vix and the symbols. So there's this other story that I find funny. So basically, Homer's Odyssey, we're not going to talk about. That would take literally hours. But this part in Homer's Odyssey that's super relevant here is that there's basically this scene where there's this feast, and it looks like your regular feast, but they, like, hid potions in it, like, secretly, like, you're not drinking tea or drinking potions or whatever. So the dinner guests turn into pigs, turn into swine, technically, and so that happened. That is one way to get back at bad dinner guests, I guess. Then, there's this other story. There's so many I could share. There's one where, okay, this is a little bit gory, but it's relevant here, I guess. So basically, Prometheus gets chained up, which, you know, there's a Vic song called Chained Up, so you get the connections here. So Prometheus basically sees that Zeus is treating humanity terribly. Zeus is just not a people person. Zeus really looks at humans and scoffs at them. He's like, stupid humans. So Prometheus is like, you're being really harsh to humanity. Can you knock it off? But, you know, no, he's not going to do that. So Prometheus is like, fine, if you're not going to help them and see the best of humans, I will. So he steals this fire from Zeus, like literal fire. He takes from him and like gives it to humanity to do what? I don't know, I guess like grow stuff, like cook over it or something. But anyway, so he gave us fire, and so Prometheus wanted to give humans something because Zeus wasn't, but Zeus was like, you stole my fire and you gave it to those people? Like, he's really ticked off about this. And so basically Kratos, who is, you know, the character in Zeus's mind that gets him to do bad stuff, Kratos basically convinces this other guy to chain up Prometheus. So the like devil in Zeus's head tells him to chain up Prometheus for his crime, and so Prometheus gets tied up to this rock. But Zeus is so extra that he's like, no, that's not even like dramatic looking enough. So he sends an eagle down to like pick at Prometheus's like limbs. And so, okay, skip ahead like 20 seconds if you don't like gory descriptions, but right here is when, so basically Prometheus like is kind of like, his organs are like regrowing, so like it sounds like he's like dead, but gods can't die, so he's not dead, but like his liver and other organs are like they're like getting pecked at by eagles, but then they reform and they grow back. And so Zeus just keeps sending eagles to an eagle one after the other to Prometheus to like peck at the organs to get them back to the deflated state. He's just like relentless. He is really too much. So anyway, so Zeus continues to be extra and sends those eagles down, and then Hercules, who is somehow involved in this story, he jumps in. He's like, not the Disney Hercules, this guy is a little more intense. But Hercules shows up, and he eventually is like, enough is enough, you're torturing Prometheus. So he shoots the eagle, and he frees Prometheus, unties him from the rock, and then Prometheus is spared. So some of the symbols to look out for next time you watch Vic's music videos is, first of all, especially in the Shangri-La video, you'll notice that some scenes are upside down, and there's like the right side up world and the upside down world in contrast to each other. And so whichever characters are upside down and sitting on the flip side world, that seems to be about Hades and the underworld, so keep that in mind. In the Shangri-La video as well, they also have this scene where they're dancing in water, and whenever you see bodies of water, there are two possible meanings, at least that I've drawn based on what I know about Greek mythology. One way is it could be about the Narcissus story, where Narcissus fell in love with his reflection by seeing it in the water, and that whole story. And that side note, I feel like Echo, as a musician, they should have included Echo, the nymph character who is involved in the Narcissus story. Echo should have played a bigger role in the symbolism throughout Vic's videos, but that's just a little nerdy complaint of mine, so that only Greek mythology buffs will appreciate. And the other meaning for the water could be having to do with the fairy of Styx. So the way to get to the underworld is riding this little ferry or like a boat to Styx. So Styx, it's a place. So this Styx river of sorts is how you get there. So anytime you see a boat a candlelit boat ride or something like that in a VIX video, I'm assuming that's referencing the river, but any body of water in the video could represent that river and that transition from the world we live in to the upside down world, which is the underworld in this situation. So those are some things to keep in mind. Also, the feast. So whenever you see that long dining table, especially with potions on it, there are a lot of potions in VIX videos. Those are reflective of the scene in the Odyssey where the guests are turned into pigs, I guess. So that another thing to keep in mind is that gold crown that I mentioned before. So Ravi's character is wearing that crown. Actually, those were popularized by one of Zeus's many sons. So Zeus's son Apollo was the character known to kind of like make it trendy, make it happen. So Apollo is like, yeah, he was successful at making the crown trendy. So that is representative of Zeus and his influence and power. And also keep in mind that in this story you hear about Zeus so much because he was such a player. He had like a bajillion wives and then a bajillion kids. So if you hear like, wait, Zeus is also his dad and Zeus is his dad and that's Zeus's wife too? And how many wives does Zeus have? Yeah, Zeus was quite something. So you'll hear his name a lot whenever you read these types of stories. His power is all over the place because of that. The other big symbolism to look out for would be Leo tied to that rock. So that is representative of that Prometheus story where that character was tied up because he criticized Zeus. So a lot of this has to go back to Zeus's power, really, and how in Zeus's head there's Kratos and other voices making him do terrible things. Also, the symbolism of I'm guessing that the girl main character in a lot of VIX videos is in their later more recent videos is Persephone, that girl, but that's up to interpretation as well. Ambrosio is probably Leo, the one who I believe he was the one tied up, but if not, he is a big character anyway in the story. So Leo, the one with the Severus Snape hair in that one video, he is Ambrosio, who's the one, this is my interpretation, whose soul is held by, like, in a Voldemort-esque way, which I found funny. That the Severus Snape guy's soul is being held by Voldemort, it just all makes sense. So the soul, we've got the potions at the dinner table that turn people into pigs, we've got the being tied up, we've got the gold crown and the popularization of crowns, we've got the river and the bodies of water, we've got, falling in love with your reflection, a lot of symbols here. The underworld in general, things that are upside down, I could go on and on. One or two more things I wanted to mention. So, the deer. There is a scene in, I believe, the Shangri-La video where one of the characters is face-to-face with this deer. And so, the deer is associated with this character Artemis, and Artemis is a goddess of childbirth. So the story of Artemis, long story short, it's kind of funny. So basically this guy is a total creep peeping at Artemis, and she spots him, and she gets rightfully ticked off, so she turns him into a deer. And that's pretty much the story. So Artemis basically just, called out that weirdo staring at her and turned him into a deer. So there, you could debate if that symbolizes, temptation or lust or greed or whatever, but the deer symbolism is there. So that's another thing to look out for as well. I would also one thing that seems to connect a lot of these stories is that there's this character Hera. So Hera basically is known for having this scepter that has a pomegranate imagery on it, and which is a symbol of fertility in Greek myths, and the pomegranate, related to the seed that Persephone ate that made them think she needed to stay in the underworld for some reason. So Hera has that symbolism as well on this scepter. And Hera, sorry, I don't know. So Hera is one of Zeus's many, many wives, and this is kind of a side story, but it could be more related to VIX videos than I think. I don't know. But Hera is just basically Zeus took Hera and was so aggressive. So he basically pursued her and like stopped the competition by getting all these other guys to like go away. So like Zeus wanted Hera because he was naturally lonely. It's not like he had a million other wives. And so he basically, the other people who wanted to be with Hera, he basically turned away by using his magic powers. So like one of them somehow he like, they say that he fashioned a cloud in Hera's image, so like this guy didn't realize he was actually dating a cloud that was turned into someone who looked like Hera, but it was a cloud, which is actually just as funny to me as that guy who suddenly realized he was dating his reflection the whole time. And this other guy, he was like he was basically killed, put into eternal sleep by Zeus to get him to stop pursuing her. And it's wild what Zeus would do to hold on to people. He's just the worst. But this, for story's sake, quite an amusing character. So those are some main things to keep in mind. So Hera might actually, I don't know if Hera's really represented as an actual being in the VIX videos, but her influence seems to be there. Zeus's wrath is definitely in there, and that inner Kratos voice of his influencing him is definitely there. Quick recap, so I have officially released episodes dedicated to specific artists regarding their music video and lyric worlds that they've created for BTS, Monsta X, EXO, Stray Kids, Super M, NCT, 17, Luna, VIX, and probably many more that I'm forgetting right now. But stay tuned because even more episodes like that are coming out in the future. So stay tuned for episodes about SF9, TXT, BAP, Dreamcatcher, and so many more. So just stay tuned because I will continue to have those artist-specific episodes, as well as, of course, more variety in other episodes too. But many more musical worlds to explore in the future. Thanks for listening to 17 Carat K-Pop today. Check out more info about the show at 17caratkpop.weebly.com. See you tomorrow.